Okay, what about now? Can you guys hear me now? Acha, just a second. Just give me a minute. Okay. अब सही है? Alright, please let me know if the audio is fine now. It should be. कराची में फ़ैन की आवाज़ से लगता है बहुत गर्मी है. Yes, of course, कराची में गर्मी है. Yes, I know paper 1 was unusually difficult, but that's how it is. Okay. Acha, so I'll tell you guys what I have planned for today. So first of all, before I start, it would be great if you guys would just like the stream. I would really appreciate that. And also do subscribe in case you haven't done that already. So first of all, about the stream, I really didn't have anything planned for this. Okay, I didn't plan on doing a stream first of all, but I thought maybe actually I did plan on doing a stream, but I planned on doing it yesterday, not today. But because I don't really prefer कि एक दिन पहले we sort of solve questions and attempt past papers. But what we're going to do is we are going to solve questions of the topics that I've mentioned here. Mensuration, trigonometry, and graphs of functions. Okay. From past papers. So we'll start from 2020 and we'll keep on solving past papers and we'll only attempt questions of mensuration, trigonometry, and graphs of functions. Okay. If you have a question that you want me to solve related to these topics, then you can mention that. And also let me know what topics weren't tested. So what about everyday math? Was everyday math tested? If everyday math wasn't tested, then we'll do everyday math also. But from what I've heard, everyday math was also tested. Yes, I know P1 was difficult, but there's no need to spam. Okay, so let's start. Like I said, I will solve. So everyday math wasn't tested. Okay. All right. So we'll do everyday math as well. Okay. Okay. So fine. We'll do everyday math as well. Anyway, let's start with graphs of functions. This is a question let's do of graphs of functions. So let's solve this first before we do anything else. So first of all, it says complete the table. So these are three easy marks. All you have to do is just plug in these values and find out the corresponding y values. Okay. Let me just take my calculator out. Yeah, here it is. Now let's plug in the values one by one and see what are the corresponding y values that we end up with. When you plug in 0, we can see that we will end up with 3. Okay, if you plug in 0.5, so let's do that. Let's see what happens when we plug in 0.5. So 2 into 0.5 cube. Please use your calculator for this. No need to figure this out mentally. So 0.5 gives you 2.25. 1 will give you 2 plus 3, that's 5. 5 minus 4 equals to 1. Okay, now let's draw the graph. So at minus 1, we have minus 3. So that's right here. At minus 0.5, we have 1.75. So 1.75 basically means, so first of all, let's get familiar with the scale. So this is 0.5, which means on the x-axis, leaving 2 boxes gives us 0.1. On the y-axis, leaving one small box gives us 0.1. Okay, it's always a good idea to get familiar with your scale first before you do anything else. Okay, so minus 0.5 and 1.75. Minus 0.5 is going to be somewhere over here. 1.75 comma 1.75 will be in between 1.5 and 2. Okay, what about 0? 0 gives us 3. There you go. What about 0.5? 0.5 gives us 2.25, which is going to be in between 2 and 2.5. 1 gives us 1. 1.5 gives us positive 0.75. So 1.5 is going to be here. 0.75 is going to be over here. And 2 takes us back to 3. Okay, remember to put crosses and not dots. Okay. And now let's make a smooth graph. Okay, no, that's not smooth. There you go. Remember, you don't have to join all the points at once, and a lot of times I hear from you guys that you find it difficult to sketch smooth or to draw smooth curves. So one tip that I can give you guys is something that works for me all the time, is that I just sort of hover my pencil over all the points without touching the paper, just to get a feel for the shape of the curve. And once you have a decent idea, then you can actually draw it. Okay. So there you go. That's part 2. How many marks do we have already? We have 7 marks already. Okay. Then it says use your graph. So you can always expect a question like this, where the question will then ask you to use your graph to solve a certain equation. Okay. So there's a standard way. Just a second, let me get comfortable. Yeah. So there's a standard way of solving questions like these, and that is you replace the left hand side with y. But you don't just do that randomly, that you just replace it with y. You first have to make sure that it's equal to what you've just drawn. So if you look at the equation of the curve, it's y equals to 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3. Okay, now since the left hand side is exactly equal to the equation of the curve, we replace it, and now we have y equals to 1.5. So that's the line that we are now going to draw, y equals to 1.5. And once you've drawn this line, then you look for the point, or in this case, the points of intersection. So we have minus 0.55, yeah, minus 0.55, 0.8, and we have 1.75. Okay, so there you go. Let's write down minus 0.55, 0.8. In fact, it's slightly 0.75, 0.8. What do you think this is going to be? 0.7. Yeah, it is going to be 0.8. 0.80. And the other is going to be 1.5. And there you go. That's your answer to part 2. Okay, so can you give any tips that help O-level students should follow before the exam? Just keep studying better. At this point, you shouldn't be looking for tips. Just start putting in the hours, and that's it. That's the only thing that should matter right now. Okay. Again, for those of you who are watching, if you guys could like the stream, that would mean a lot. I mean, there are 71 people watching and just 22 likes. How do we use ruler or sketch when drawing graph? What do you mean? How do we use? So if you're sketching it, then you don't have to use a ruler. Sketching is done freehand. I mean, you may use a ruler to draw the x and y axis, but that will be drawn for you, so you don't have to do that yourself. Okay. All right. Now, then it says the equation 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 3 equals to k has only one solution. Okay. Now, questions like these can be tricky. It has only one solution. Write down a possible integer value of k. Okay, so chalo, I want you guys to try and solve this, and also tell me the logic that you've applied to solve this question. Sir, how do you think the threshold be for paper 1? I think it's going to be low. I think the threshold for ASP1 is going to be low. So you guys will just have to wait and see what happens. Draw the line where there is one intersection. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so we can have, and make sure where you draw the horizontal line, it is at an integer. So my k equals to minus 3 is a potential answer, k equals to minus 2 is a potential answer, k equals to minus 1 is a potential answer, or k equals to 0. Okay, so the question says write down a possible value. So you can have minus 3, minus 2, minus... You're not supposed to write down all the values, okay? You're supposed to write down only one. Don't say, okay, I wrote these many values. Okay, you're only supposed to write down one. So you can write minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0. I'm just going to go with minus 2. You know, I like that. I like minus 1. And notice the question says that you can go all the way to 2. So that means in between -1 to 2. So, and also I think it can be, okay, no, you can't have a value greater than 3. Okay, that's not possible. So I'm going to go with -2. Okay, why? Because if you draw a horizontal line at -2, you get only one solution. And what exactly are we referring to when we say the solution? We're talking about the point of intersection. So there's only one point of intersection. That means just one solution. Okay. So what if the line we draw towards x-axis comes between the box? So you don't have to draw the line over here, by the way. Acha, in between the box. Okay, then you just divide it by 2. Okay, that's it. Okay, now, then it says, on the grid, draw the tangent to the curve at x equals to 1. Okay, so we make a tangent line. Alright, remember the rules for tangent, that it should be equally spaced above and below. So like for example over here, this is a good tangent because you can see that the distance apart is the same. What do I mean by that? Let me just get the tangent right, then I'll explain. Yeah, this looks good. So you can see, like for example over here, that the distance of the tangent at the values after 1 and at the values before 1 is more or less the same. Okay, and because it's the same, that means this tangent is correct. Okay, now let's pick 2 points through which this because I'm sure we have to find out the gradient. Yeah, so let's pick 2 points through which this tangent is passing. So I like this point. This point has coordinates 0 comma minus 1.6. Okay, so that's 1 point. Let's pick another point. Just don't pick a point where you've drawn the tangent. Okay, we always pick any other 2 points. So this point will have coordinates 1.5 comma 5. Okay, so 1.5 comma 5. Okay, now we find out the gradient, 5 minus 1.6 over 1.5 minus 0. So let's figure this out. 5 minus 1.6 over 1.5 minus 0. So what do we get? We get 4.4. There you go. That's your answer. Write down the equation of your tangent in the form y equals to mx plus c. So thank God we already have the gradient. That means as far as the gradient goes, we know what m is. So we can just replace m with 4.4. X as it is, c you can see is the y-intercept, which is minus 1.6. So that's what we're going to go with. So minus 1.6 is your answer. Y equals to 4.4x minus 1.6. And again, you can expect a certain range of acceptable answers in this, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, there will definitely be a range of acceptable answers, so don't stress too much about whether your answer is correct or not. Just make sure that your tangent is correct. Okay, your tangent is actually representing the steepness of the curve, and that's it. You'll be fine, inshallah. Okay, now, so let's do mensuration. Yeah. So here's a question of mensuration. I'd like you guys to attempt this before I solve it. And when you have your answer, do share it with me in the comment section. How do we take completing square from, how do we take turning point from completing the square? Okay. So basically, the h and k values are your turning points. Okay. The h and k values are your turning point. I'll answer that in a minute. Okay. First, let's get through this question. Sir, थोड़ा super कराएं. Super नहीं है बेटा, butter puff है. Okay, it's clear now, boys and girls. Sorry about that. Let me see. Clear. $32.87. Is that the answer? Not bad. That was quick. No, I'm sorry, the video for 2023 February March is not available. Cambridge made a copyright strike on it. So, but if you go on my Instagram story, I've uploaded a link which will give you the solution of that paper. Okay, just the solution. like the PDF file, the same paper that I solved in the video. Okay, so a solid metal cone has radius 1.65 centimeter and slant height 4.70 centimeter. Calculate the total surface area. So the fact that it's saying it's a solid cone. Actually, by the way, these are the formulas that you're not supposed to memorize. Okay, so it says formula will be given for, formula is the plural of formula, for the surface area and volume of sphere, pyramid and cone in the question. And as you can see, it is given for the volume, it's given over here. Okay, now so let's solve this. The total surface area of the cone is equal to what? Is equal to pi r square plus pi r l. Pi r square plus pi r l. You can see the curved surface area formula is also given. Okay, so pi r square means pi into 1.65 square. Okay, plus pi into r, which is 1.65 again, into the slant height, which is 4.7 again. Not again, but yeah, 4.7. So you find this, you add it up, what do you get? You get 32.9 once you write it correct to 3 significant figures. Okay. Find the angle the slant height makes with the base of the cone. Okay. So since we're talking about a cone, here's what's going on. Here is what the situation is. This is what a cone looks like, right? Okay, yeah. Here's the center. Okay, here is the radius, which is 1.65, and the slant height is 4.70, not according to me, but according to the question. And you have to find out this angle. So we make a 90-degree triangle over here. The trigonometric ratio that we can use over here is cos. So cos theta equals to adjacent, which is 1.65 over hypotenuse, which is 4.70. Now you take out the cos inverse of this. Make sure you reset your calculator before you do anything. 4.70, and that's it. Your answer is 69.4 degrees. So there you go. Okay, now you guys want to attempt the volume part as well? I have a video on graphs of functions. You can watch that. You will understand it, inshallah. Okay, you're right. I should have made you guys do part B. Okay, I didn't realize. Okay, don't worry. C has 2 parts. Okay. Okay, now C part 1 is pretty easy. You have to calculate the volume. You have all the relevant information. You need to find out the height. 1.65 is the radius. 4.7 is the slant height. So how will we find out the height? We can find out the height by using Pythagoras theorem. So h squared plus 1.65 squared equals to 4.7 squared. Let's see what height is equal to. So if you take the square root of 4.7 squared minus 1.65 squared, you get 4.4. Okay, 4.40085, so 4.4009. Okay. Now the volume, the formula is given 1 upon 3 into pi into r squared, which means 1.65 square, into the height, which is 4.4009. So height we already have in the calculator. Multiply this by 1.65 square, multiply by 1, divide by 3, and multiply by pi. So you get 12.5 centimeter cube. So pretty easy. Okay, now I'd like you guys to try and do part 2. Tracing paper is allowed. I've made a video on it. In part D, will we form an equation since equal volume? Yes, we will do that. Achha, don't worry about O-level at maths. It's okay. We got this. The reason why I'm not streaming O-level at maths right now is because the paper is on what? The 24th? Wait, I have it written. O-level at maths के अभी इसका मतलब नहीं है कि आप बिल्कुल relax हो जाएं. 23rd and 30th, yeah, 23rd and 30th. So it's nothing to worry about. I will inshallah start streaming at maths from this weekend. Okay, from this weekend I'll be streaming O-level math and at maths. Okay. 41. 41. Yeah, that's the correct answer. Good job. So it says a metal sphere with radius 5 cm is melted down to make cones identical to this one. Okay. Calculate the number of complete identical cones that are made. So we know that the volume of this cone is what? Is 12. Let's find out the volume of this sphere that we are melting. And remember, when you're melting one object to form another, the volume remains the same. So that's what we're going to do. Volume of x cones is equals to the volume of this sphere. So 4 upon 3 in fact. 4 upon 3 into pi 5 cubed. Okay, so let's see what that is equal to. 4 divided by 5 into 5 cubed into pi. Okay, so we're looking at 100 pi. No, wait a minute. 5 square कर दिया मैंने. 4 divided by 3 into 125. Yeah, so we're looking at 500 upon 3 pi. Now 500 upon 3 pi is basically the volume of the sphere. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide this by the volume of the cone, which is 1 upon 3 pi r square h. Okay, r is 1.65 square and the height is, as we worked out earlier, 4.4 whatever. Okay, so if you divide this by 12.5, divide by 12.5, why? Because that was the volume that we worked out earlier. Now the answer is 41.8. Now don't round this off to 42 because you can't make 42 complete cones. At 41.8, that's enough. That's the maximum capacity. So even though 41.8 theoretically rounds off to 42, but we're not going to give our answer as 42. We're going to give our answer as 41 because there is no extra material that's available to form the missing 0.2 of a cone. Okay, so don't just brainlessly round off your answer without paying attention to what the question is asking for or what exactly is going on in the question. Make sure to read the question carefully and understand what it is that the question has, what it is that we're trying to figure out. Tomorrow is chemistry paper. Oh, really? Good luck for chemistry tomorrow. Salam sir, watched your binomial videos and had P12 today. Passed that question, but the paper was very hard. Yes, I know the paper was hard. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Inshallah, threshold will be low and you guys will be smiling on result day. Inshallah. Okay, now solve this. Can you see the question clearly? Yes, you can. Great. Why 41? अभी तो मैंने पूरी कहानी समझाई बेटा. क्योंकि you can't complete the 42nd cone, right? At 41.8, that's it. Okay, at 41.8, it's like, okay, think of it this way. Let me think of an example. 41.8. Okay, so let's say in a class, the capacity of students, okay, is the maximum capacity is 41.8. Okay, so if the maximum capacity is 41.8, that means at 41.8 it's maxed out. Okay, so can you accommodate 42 students in that class? No, you can't. Why? Because at 41.8, that's it. It's maxed out. So where will you get the space for the extra 0.2? So that is why we're not going to round off 41.8 to 42. Instead, we're going to round it off to 41. Okay, or think of it this way. Let's say you have just enough money to buy 41.8 of a certain item. Okay, let's say you have just enough money to buy 41.8. Let me think of something. 41.8 pence. Okay. Now, if let's say the shopkeeper is nice and he gives you a discount and says, okay, fine, I'll give you 42 at the price of 41.8. That's great. But otherwise, you're gonna buy 41, right? Because you don't have the extra money for 0.2. All right. So I hope it's clear now. If not, then I'm afraid I can't think of any easier example. Okay, so this is question number 8. You guys are saying 2.67. That is correct. We're gonna use sine rule to solve this. So why are we using sine rule? Let's have a look at that also. QR is a length. We have the angle opposite to it. Okay, 6 centimeter is another length, and we have the angle opposite to it. So we have one complete pair of angle and length opposite to it. So QR divided by sine 25 equals to 6 over sine 72. Now you cross multiply, and you'll have your value of QR in no time. 6 divided by sine 72 into sine 25, which is equal to 2.67. So good job. Okay, next thing that you guys have to find is PS. Go ahead, solve for PS. .67 is not equal to 3. Please don't do that. What is differentiation topic for A levels? But if you're not in A levels right now, then don't worry about it. Yes, we'll use cosine rule. We're not going to use Pythagoras. Khuda ka khauf karo. Pythagoras is only applied to a 90-degree triangle, and as far as I can tell, this is not a 90-degree triangle. Yeah. So PS is going to be equal to square root of 7.4 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 into 7.4 into 6 into cos of the angle in between the two lengths, which is 34. Okay. So let's work this out. So the final answer is 4.14. That is correct. Good job. Okay. Then it says the area of the quadrilateral. Okay. So I'll do this because there's nothing difficult left now of this question. Just a second. There are yeah, so there are two triangles over here. Okay. And you can find out the area of this triangle very easily. Half into 6 into 7.4 into sine 34. Okay, you can find out the area of this triangle. And also notice that the question has already made you find out QR, which is what, 2.67, and now you can find out this angle easily by simply subtracting the 2 from 180. So 180 minus 25 minus 72, that gives you 83. Okay, so this is 83, and now you can find out the area of this triangle easily. Half into 2.67 into 6 into sine 83. Okay, so I'll do this one by one in the calculator. So half into 7.4 into 6 into sine 34 gives you 12.414. Okay, and then if you work out this area, 0.5 into 2.67 into 6 into sine 83 gives you 7.95. Okay, yeah, 7.95. Now you add 7.95 and 12.414, so I'll do that directly in a calculator, and your final answer is 20.4. Okay, I know I rushed through it, but that's because it's a fairly easy question and we have everything that we need in order to find out the area of the quadrilateral. Okay. All right, now let's do this question. Now, I will do this question, okay, and then I'll give you guys another question to solve. Differentiation chapter is included. Yes, differentiation is included in IGCSE. Okay. So this says the diagram shows an open box A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H in the shape of a cuboid, so and so. AB is equals to 20, BC is equals to 18, and AE is equals to, okay, let's have a look at simultaneously as well. Okay. A thin rod GX rests partly in the box as shown. The rod is 40 centimeter long. So this rod that you're looking at is basically 40 centimeters. All right. So, and what do we have to find out? We have to find out GX. That means you only need to find out this portion of the rod. Okay. Now, how do we do that? Here's how we do it. First of all, we use Pythagoras theorem to find out this length. Okay. First of all, we use Pythagoras theorem to find out AG. Now there's an easier way to find out the diagonal of a cuboid or a cube. Okay, what you can do is you can simply do square root of 20 squared plus 18 squared plus 16 squared. Okay, now remember this formula is used to find the diagonal of a 3D shape. Okay, diagonal of a cube or a cuboid. So this will give you AG directly. Instead of working it out step by step, that first you find AC and then you use AC and GC to find out AG, you can find out AG directly by using this formula. So I'll write it down over here. D is equals to square root of L square plus B square plus H square. Okay, where D is the diagonal of a cuboid. Okay, remember this. So square root of 20 squared plus 18 squared plus 16 squared. So we're looking at AG as 31.3. Now if AG is 31.3 centimeter, and as far as the rod is concerned, the rod is 40 centimeters. So 40 minus 31.3, 40 minus answer, let's do that. So we're looking at 8.69 centimeter, which is going to be what? Which is going to be 8.70. Why? Because it's 8.695. So 8.70 centimeter. Then it says calculate the angle that the rod makes with the base of the box. Okay. So this is what you need to find out, this angle, for which we're going to use the triangle that I'm highlighting in green. So we have the opposite length. We now have the hypotenuse length. AG we worked out to be 31.3. So we can use sine to find out the angle. So sine theta equals to the opposite length, which is 16, over the hypotenuse length, which is 31.3. So 16 over 31.3. Let's do that. 16 divided by 31.3. And then let's take the sine inverse of the answer. So we're looking at 30.7 degrees. So theta equals 30.7, and there you go. That's your answer. So that's it. There you go. Okay, sir, is this formula helpful for O-levels? Yes, this formula is helpful for O-levels also. So if you have a diagonal of O-level में हो या IGCSE में हो, you can apply it anywhere. Okay. Where you got 40? Where did I get 40? 40 is given in the question. The rod GX, AX in fact, is actually equal to 40 centimeter. Okay, it's given in the question. QR equals to 2.66. Are we supposed to find QR? अच्छा, I think आप लोग ज़रा थोड़ा पीछे चल रहे हैं. You haven't realized कि stream उससे आगे जा चुकी है, but yeah, QR equals to 2.66. ठीक है, good job. This is paper 42. Yes, Peta, can you read the caption? It's paper 42. Okay. Okay, so let's basically do the next paper and pick out questions of the same topic, and let's solve this. Okay, so this was March 2020. Let's do March 2021 now. क्या ख्याल है? This looks interesting. So let's do an everyday math question as well. I think there are two everyday math questions over here. We have, I think this is an everyday math question. No, this is not an everyday math question. This is also not an everyday math question. Anyway, if we come across an everyday math question, we'll do that. I think this is the only everyday math question. So let's do this. So I want you guys to solve this, okay? And we will also do questions of graphs of function, this one over here. We will do questions of trigonometry, and we'll also do questions of mensuration from this paper, okay? This is what I have planned for today. I don't have a specific PDF or a worksheet to share with you guys, just random questions, 245. Is that the answer? Yeah, 245 is correct. Okay, what about part 2 and part 3? So part 1 is pretty straightforward. The painter works for 7 hours, so 35, take 35, multiply it by 7. What do we get? 35 into 7 is 245. There you go. Okay. Part B says Mr. Sharma pays the plumber $252. Calculate how many hours the plumber works. Okay. Do part B. Eight hours. Okay, 8 hours is correct. Okay. So basically, you have a fixed charge of $40. So that's what we're going to do. 252 from this, we're going to subtract 40. And whatever is the leftover amount, we're going to divide it by the hourly rate, which is 26.50. If you work this out correctly, you get 8 hours, and that's the correct answer. Okay. Then it says Mr. Sharma pays the electrician 224. Calculate how many hours the electrician works. Okay, so figure this out. Again, I'll give you guys 2 minutes. If you guys this question right, then you're pretty smart. 6 is the correct answer. Good job, actually. So, as far as the electrician is concerned, electrician का जो billing तरीका है वो ज़रा थोड़ा सा different है. Okay, for the first 2 hours he charges a fixed rate. In fact, he has a different rate, and then for the next hours he charges a separate rate. Okay, so first of all, if the bill is exceeding 96, so that means he has definitely worked for more than 2 hours. Okay, so 48, multiply that by 2. So what's that equal to? That's equal to 96. Okay, so notice that the bill is exceeding 96. So that means he's definitely worked for more than 2 hours. So how do we calculate the amount of hours that he has worked for more than 2 hours? You subtract 96 from 224. So if you do that, here's what you get. 224 minus 96, 128. Okay, so basically he made $128 after 2 hours, which means what? Which means that 128, if you divide that by 32, since that's what his hourly rate is, so 128 divided by 32 is equal to what? Is equal to 4. So 4 hours more than 2 hours, that means 4 hours plus the 2 hours, which is equal to what? Which is equal to 6 hours. Okay. Then it says write down the ratio of the amount that Mr. Sharma pays to the painter, to the plumber, and the electrician. Give your answer in its lowest term. So this is fairly easy. 245 is the amount that he pays to the painter. 245, and to the plumber she pays 252. Okay, and then to the electrician he pays Mr. Sharma. Okay, he pays 224. All right, so now what do we do? 245 divided by 9. In fact, 245 is not a multiple of 9. Let's see if we can simplify this any further. We can simplify. We can't divide them by 5. You can't divide them by 9. You can divide them by 7. Yes, you can divide them by 7. So divide this by 7, this by 7, and this by 7. So 245 divided by 7 is 35. 252 divided by 7 is 36. 224 divided by 7 is 32. So there you go. 35 is to 36 is to 32 is your answer to part 2. Okay. What about transformation? Was transformation tested in the paper? So let me see. If this is an easy question, you know what? We're going to skip it. ADB is easy. Calculate DC. DC is also fairly easy. You can use sine rule to do that. In fact, let's do this. This has a shortest distance concept, so let's do this. Okay, quickly. I want you guys to calculate ADB, DC, and the shortest distance from C to BD. Go ahead. Do this, and the next question is graphs of function. सर ये आज एएस का okay. Acha, there was transformation. Okay, great. So ADB, let's work out ADB. ADB is going to be this angle, so we can use cosine rule for this. So cos of ADB equals to 8.6 squared minus 9.7 squared. Okay, is 8.6 squared plus 9.7 squared minus 4.4 squared, and the same two sides that you've added, you will multiply them by 2. 8.6 into 9.7. Okay, let's see what the answer is. The answer is 26.97. So 26.97 is what we get, which then becomes 27.0 degrees. Okay, then find out DC. So for DC we can use, okay, for DC we can use sine rule, but first we'll have to find out what this angle is. So 180 minus 65 minus 42, so that gives us 73. Now we're going to use sine rule to find DC. So DC over sine 65 equals to 9.7 over sine 73. Okay, now we cross multiply. Let's see what we get. 9.7 divided by sine 73, close the bracket, into sine 65. So that gives you 9.19. There you go. Okay, then it says calculate the shortest distance from C to BD. Okay, go ahead. Figure this out yourself without my help. Here it is. Okay, I'll write down everything that we figured out so far. So we figured out DC to be 9.19. There you go. We figured out the angle this to be 27.0. And also tell me the shortest distance is what? Complete the sentence. Shortest distance is always the, in fact, fill in the blank. Shortest distance is always the blank distance. Perpendicular distance, that's correct. 10.4 centimeter. Okay, I don't know about that. Okay, you might want to recheck. Shortest distance from C to BD. You might want to recheck that. Shortest distance from C to BD means this distance. Okay, it may be correct, but I don't know, it doesn't seem correct to me. So how do we find this distance? First of all, this is where the 90-degree angle is going to be. Okay, so the length that we want is the opposite length. The length that we have is now the hypotenuse length. So we can use sine. Sine 42 equals to opposite over hypotenuse, which means 9.19. So we cross multiply. Sine 42, close the bracket, into 9.19. So that gives us 6.149, which is equal to 6.15 centimeter. So this is the correct answer, fellas, not 10 point something that you guys are saying. Okay, now graphs of functions. This is a good question. So it says here, the graph shows, the grid above shows the graph y equals to a plus bx squared. The graph passes through the points with coordinates 0, 4 and 1, 1. Find the values of a and b. So that's pretty easy. We're going to substitute. So if you're given the equation, If you look at the equation at the moment, you'll notice that other than x and y, you have two values missing, the value of a and b. So how will we find out the two values? We'll plug in 0, 4. So if I plug in 0 in place of y, a plus b into 0 square. So the value of a is immediately equal to 4. Then to find out the value of b, so again y is equals to a plus bx square. You replace y as 1, you replace x as 1, so a plus b equals to 1. A is equals to 4. What's b equal to? B is equal to minus 3. So pretty easy, nothing to worry about. Then it says write down the equation of the tangent to the graph at 0, 4. So it doesn't say that you have to draw the tangent or anything like that. You just need to write down the equation of the tangent to the graph at 0, 4. So if you think about it, the tangent to the graph at 0, 4 is going to be a horizontal line. So a horizontal line which is cutting the y-axis at 4 means the equation will be y equals to 4. That's it. You don't even have to find out the gradient and the y-intercept. That's it. Just y equals to 4 is your final answer. Okay, sir, there's a question vectors where 2 points are extended to meet and you have to find the position vector of that point with not complete root. Okay, if you can point out a question like that and share it with me right now, I'll solve it. Okay, you're right, there is a question like that, but I can't seem to remember ke kahan aata aisa question. Okay. Now, part 3 says the equation of the tangent to the graph at x equals to minus 1 equals to y equals to 6x plus 7. Find the equation of the tangent to the graph at x equals to 1. Okay. अच्छा, just hold on to that. जो भी आपने बोला है ना, अभी देखते हैं वो. So, notice that the equation of the tangent at x equals to minus 1 is y equals to 6x plus 7. And now the question is asking you to find the equation of the tangent at x equals to minus 1. In fact, wait a minute. X equals to minus 1 pe diya hua hai, and the question is asking you to find out the equation of the tangent at x equals to 1. Now, if you think about it, these two tangents are going to be symmetrical. Okay? So the only thing that will change is actually the gradient. If the gradient of tangent at x equals to minus 1 is 6, that means the gradient of the tangent at x equals to positive 1 is going to be minus 6. Now, if you have any doubts about that, here's what I would suggest. I would suggest this. What's the equation of the curve? The equation of the curve we now know is equal to 4 minus 3x square. You find dy by dx, so that's going to be equal to minus 6x. Now you plug in x equals to 1. So at x equals to 1, dy by dx equals to what? Equals to minus 6. So now we know that y equals to minus 6x plus c is the equation of tangent. Now you need a point through which the curve is passing. So we already have the value of x. What's the value of y at that point? It's 1. So you plug in 1 in place of y, you plug in 1 in place of x, and now you have the value of c, which is 7. So what is y equal to? Y is equals to minus 6x plus 7, and there you go. That's your final answer. Okay. Okay, now part B. Part B says the table shows some values for y equals to 1 plus 5 over 3 minus x, for minus 2 to 1.5. Complete the table. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals to so and so. Okay, so first of all, let's find out the values. Okay. So let's plug in x as minus 1, x as 0, and x as 1. If you plug in x as minus 1, let's see what happens. Let's use a calculator for this. 1 plus 5 over 3 minus 1. So we get 2.25. Oh, wait a minute. 2.25, writing it at the wrong place. Then if you plug in 0, you get 1 plus 5 over 3. That means 1 plus 1.66, so that's 2.67. And then if you plug in 1, so that's going to be 3.5. Okay, now, then it says on the grid, draw the graph. Okay, on the grid, draw the graph. All right. So let's look at the points one by one. Minus 2 comma 2, so that's going to be over here. Then we have minus 1.5 and 2.11, so minus 1.5 and 2.11. So that's going to be over here. Then we have minus 1 and 2.24. So 2.24. Okay, now for 2.24, since it's closer to 2.2, we'll round it off to 2.2. Okay. Then at minus 1, it's 2.25. So, actually, wait a minute. Minus 1.5 and minus... At minus 2, it's 2. Okay. Messed up the order. At minus 2, it's 2. At minus 1.5, it's 2.11. Okay. So at minus 1.5, it's 2.11. I don't think I did anything wrong. But khair, anyway. And then at minus 1, it's 2.24. At minus 1, it's 2.24. Okay, and at minus 0.5, it's 2.25. And then at 0, at... Achha, this is 2.25. Okay. Okay. And at minus 0.5, it's 2.43. Okay. At minus 0.5, it's 2.43. So let me fix that. 2.43 is going to be over here. Then at 0, it's 2.67. So the values are very close to each other. 2.67, so we'll round that off to 2.7. And then at 0.5, it's 3. 0.5, it's 3. And then at 1, it's 7. At 1, it's 3.5 actually. So at 1, it's 3.5. And then finally at 1.5, it's 4.33. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna make a curve passing through all the points. So it's gonna be a weird curve. So just a second, let me restart the app. It's stalling. Just a minute. Okay, back. Now we're gonna make a smooth curve. And there you go. That's your answer. I mean, I could have definitely done better than this, especially this part, but just let it be for now. Okay. Then the question says, write down the two values of x where the two graphs intersect. Okay, so let's write down the two values of x where the two graphs intersect. So you can see that one is approximately 0.75 and the other is 0.5, 0.55 maybe? Yeah, 0.55. Yeah. So again, there will definitely be a range of acceptable answers, and I'm pretty sure that our answer falls inside the acceptable range. Okay. So we have minus 0.75. Let's write that down. Minus 0.75. Okay. And the other, like I said, is 0.55. Okay. All right. Then the question says, the answers to C part 1 are the solutions of a cubic equation in terms of x. Okay. What do I do now? The answers to C part 1 are the two solutions to the cubic equation. Okay, now I'd like you guys to try this. I'll write down the equation of the curve and the equation of, and you can clearly see the equation of the curve that we have drawn. The equation of the curve that we were given earlier is 4 minus 3x squared. Okay, so here is 4 minus 3x squared, and here is the curve that we have just drawn. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to try and solve this yourself, and let me know when you have your answer. Is it Maghrib time? Sir, can you solve the symmetry line questions in... Okay, now listen. Symmetry line, as far as questions related to symmetry are concerned, there's always one standard way to solve such questions, and that is x equals to h, where h is the point where the curve is cutting the x-axis, okay, if it's a quadratic curve. If it's not a quadratic curve, then you look at the question and you try and eyeball the line of symmetry, and once you've done that, then you write down the equation, okay? So at the point where the curve gets curved, then solution is the point... Okay, now, so I'll solve this question now. My expectation of the AS level threshold, it's definitely going to be lower, but I can't obviously give you a number. I can give you a range maybe as per my... as I haven't seen the paper, but from what I've heard, I think it's going to be around 55 or lower. Definitely lower than 55. In fact, I think even lower than 50 is also possible. Okay. Okay, now, so how do we do this question? You equate the two. 4 minus 3x squared equals to 1 plus 5 over 3 minus x. Alright. Now, you equate the two, you get everything over to the left-hand side. So we have 4 minus 1, which is going to be 3 minus 3x squared, which is equal to 5 over 3 minus x. But the thing is, okay, why exactly are we doing what we're doing? That's because if you're asked to find out the point of intersection between any two curves, let's say, or a curve or a line or anything of that sort, you always solve them simultaneously. So that's what we're doing. We're actually solving the two simultaneously. And now in order to do that, we'll cross multiply. So 3 minus 3x squared into 3 minus x is equal to 5. So 3 into 3 is equals to what? Is equals to 9. 3 into minus x equals to what? Is minus 3x. And then minus 9x squared. Okay. And minus, in fact, minus 9. Now it's going to be plus 3x cubed. At the same time, let's get 5 over to the left hand side, so minus 5 equals to 0. Okay. Achha. Now, here's what we can do. When you get everything over to the left hand side, let's see what happens. You have 3x cubed, okay, minus 9x squared, minus 3x, and 9 minus 5 equals to what? Plus 4. And there you go. This is the final answer. 3x cubed minus 9x squared minus 3x plus 4. And that's it. That's your answer. Okay, now let's do this mensuration question as well. This is a bit of mensuration, a bit of trigonometry, but the following part is entirely mensuration. Go ahead. And we will do this vectors question also. This vectors question was actually one of the hardest questions, one of the most difficult vectors questions that I've come across. We will do this also. And then that's it. We'll call it a day. Or maybe we'll do this everyday math question also. And then we can call it a day. Okay. Make sure that you guys get good sleep. Okay. Paper 4 is lengthy. It can be very exhausting. So very important that you guys get a good night rest. I'm going to fight with maths P4 till I kill it. Okay, good luck. 5 sin x equals to minus 3. I solved a question very similar to this a day before the test when I was streaming a yearly past paper. No, Ishal, I'm not done with coordinate geometry. I didn't do coordinate geometry in this stream. I'll do coordinate geometry for O-level math later. You know, people have started filing up petitions to to make the grade threshold lower for the AS math exam. Okay, do we have the answer? If yes, I'd like to hear it. Okay, I can't say anything about M1. Okay, let's hope it's not as difficult as P1. Anyway, so it says show that the area of the sector is 41.7 centimeters square, correct to one decimal place. Okay, so that's pretty easy. Finding out the area of sector, 53 upon 360 into pi into 9.5 squared. Okay, now let's work this out. Definitely it's going to be 41.7, so no point in checking. 41.7 it is. Okay, then it says the area of triangle OAB is 1/3 the area of sector OXY. Okay, now how will I calculate the area of triangle? We don't have the lengths, but we know for sure that they're both going to be equal. Okay, acha. Then according to the question, acha, what do we have to find? We have to find OA. Okay, now, and the reason why I'm taking them to be equal, because the question says so. So here's what I can do. The area of triangle OAB is going to be half into x into sine 53. Half into x into sine 53. Now this area, according to the question, is equal to 1/3 the area of sector, which means it's equal to 1/3 into the area of sector, which we've just worked out to be equal to 41.7. Okay. Now this is what we're going to solve for the value of x. So x square into sine 53 is equals to, let's work this out, 1 divided by 3 into 41.7 into 2 divided by, in fact, so this is what x square sine 53 is equal to. This is what I'm looking at, 27.8. Now let's divide this by sine 53. So I'm looking at x square to be equal to 34.8. Okay, x square is equal to 34.8. And then if you take the square root of it, so we're looking at 5.9. So x is equals to 5.9, which means OA is equals to 5.9 centimeter. So there you go. That's your answer. Okay, now part B. Do part B. This is a 6-mark question. So good luck. I'll give you guys 3 minutes. Should be enough. Why sine 53? Because we're using the formula half AB sine C. You have two sides and an included angle. That's why sine 53. No, you can't use cos. When you're calculating the area of triangle, you have to use sine. क्या हो गया आप लोग sin 53 से इतना परेशान क्यों हो गए? How else would I have worked out the area of triangle? Half into A into B into sine C. Where did the half go? Okay, so basically I did this calculation directly into the calculator. Okay, I took 41.7, multiplied it by 2, divided by 3, and just wrote it directly. Okay. Let me know when you guys have the answer to this. Sir, what review did you get? It was difficult. P1 AS was difficult from what I've heard. Okay, thank you. Which paper is this? This is February March 2021, paper 4, variant 2. 316. No, but you're close. Who's this? Walker's Donut? You're close, but that's not the correct answer, I'm afraid. Three 402. No, 402 is also not the correct answer. So there was no arithmetic and algebra in paper 2. So yes, you can expect that in paper 4 now. Everything that you didn't have in paper 2, you can and should expect it in paper 1. That's why I'm streaming trigonometry, mensuration, and graphs of functions. Okay, so chalo, let's do this now. So this question says a cone is made from this sector by joining OQ to OP. Now remember a few things, that when you convert a sector into a cone, a couple of things happen. Number one is that the arc length of the sector turns into the circumference of the cone. Okay, you can see this in action over here if you want. I've shown this earlier as well. But here's what I want you guys to observe. I want you guys to observe the sector, okay, and the cone. Okay, so ignore the circle, ignore the base of the cone, just focus on this sector over here and notice what it turns into. So as you close it, a couple of things happen. Number one is that focus on the arc length. Okay, notice that this arc length is actually equal to the circumference of the circle, so that means the arc length is equal to what? The arc length is equal to the circumference of the circle. And then notice the slant height of the cone and see what it turns into. The slant height of the cone becomes the radius of the sector. Okay, so two very important key points over here. The arc length of the sector turns into the circumference of the cone, of the base, basically the circular base. Number two, the slant height of the cone turns into the radius of the sector. Okay, so if you want, you can write that down, or I can highlight it simply, that this PQ will turn into this PQ. Okay, in fact the question mentions it, and this slant height is basically the radius of the sector. Okay, so that means immediately we know what the slant height is. We can see that the slant height is 24 centimeter. Okay, what do you have to calculate? You have to calculate the radius of the cone. You have to calculate the volume of the cone. So first of all, let's start by calculating the radius. Now we know 2 pi r, which is basically the circumference, must be equal to what? The circumference must be equal to the arc length. Okay, so the circumference is 2 pi r. The arc length is going to be equal to theta, which is 60. So 60 upon 360 multiplied by 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by r, which is equal to 24. Okay, so pi and pi get cancelled out. Okay, that's the reason why I kept it in terms of pi. Now 60 divided by 360 into 2 into 24 divided by 2. So the radius is equal to 4 centimeter. If the radius is 4 centimeter, okay, what can we work out now? We can work out the height. So we can use Pythagoras theorem to work out the height. So h squared plus 4 squared equals to 24 squared. So let's see what h squared is equals to. So 24 squared minus 4 squared is equals to 560. I don't think 560 is a perfect square. So square root of h is equals to 23.66. So we have the height of the cone, which is 23.66. Now we can find out the volume, which is 1 upon 3 pi r square h, which means the volume is equals to 1 upon 3 into pi into 4 square into 23.66. So let's work this out. 23.66 into 16 into pi into 1 upon 3. So we have 396.499, which means it's equal to 396.5, or in as the final answer, it's going to be 396. Yeah, it's going to be 396 actually. Since it's 396.499, it's going to be 396 centimeters squared. But again, this is not something you have to worry too much about. You will have, it's not something that you have to worry too much about because the examiner is not too strict about the significant figures. Okay. I will make a. Okay, I understand that students are pretty tensed after the P1 exam. Okay, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The paper was difficult, so the threshold will be low. Don't let this difficult exam set the tone for the rest of the papers. Okay, you need to work hard for the rest of the papers. I'm sure there are a lot of exams to go. In fact, some of the science students and even commerce students have their papers till 8th June. So one bad paper, don't let there not be a spillover effect. Okay, if it was a difficult paper, just know that you're not the only one who found it difficult. There were other students also who found it difficult. So like I said, the threshold will be lower. Okay. But M1, I don't know if I'll be able to stream M1 because a lot of papers are piling up. There's Math O level, there is M1 and S1 also. So in case I don't, then you can always watch Sir Zain's channel. बांग्लादेशी होकर भी उर्दू बोल रहा हूँ तो बेटा उर्दू आती होगी ना आपको, इसलिए बोल रहे हैं. Thank you, Mohammad Sherwani. Okay, now the last question of this paper, and that is everyday math. And uske baad I'll let you guys go. Okay, have fun, relax, just get a good night's sleep, and you guys will do fine, inshallah. In fact, we'll also do the vectors question. In fact, you know what? Let's do the vectors question first. Okay. So I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to solve this vector question. This was a pretty challenging question. And let me know, did vectors come in the previous paper? Did vectors come in paper 2? If it did, then there's not going to be another question. But if it didn't, then yes, there definitely will be. सर सीकास में ए लेवल्स को पढ़ाते हैं बेटा. मैं कराची में हूँ, मैं कैसे. If I'm not wrong, that's in Lahore, right? So how do you expect me to teach in Lahore? There was a question on vectors. Okay, not a full proper question. Okay, fine. So do this question. It's called Shapes, Abdullah. The app is called Shapes. Okay, anyone who is willing to solve this question? Okay, shall I solve this? No, 2 is not the correct answer. Is gradient same as magnitude? No, gradient is something else. Magnitude is something else. No, the two sides don't necessarily have to be horizontal. Okay, it could be rotated. It could be, the two sides could be vertical. Who knows? Okay. Now, so notice that the question says that the gradient of BC is 1. Now, when you write down a vector, you're actually writing down the change in x over change in y. That's what you're doing, right? So if vector, and through the vector, through the xy components, what you can do is you can find out the vector, you can find out the gradient of any vector. Remember, gradient of any vector is actually equal to y upon x. Okay. Now, if this vector over here has components minus a and minus b, that means the gradient of this vector is going to be what? Is going to be minus b upon minus a, which then gets cancelled out, and the gradient we're told is equal to 1. So 1 is equals to b upon a, which means if you cross multiply, a equals to what? A equals to b. Okay. Now that a is equals to b, what other piece of information do we have? The other piece of information that we have, this is one piece of information, and now I'm using the second piece of information. The second piece of information is basically the magnitude. Okay. Now if the magnitude is 8, that means square root of minus a squared plus minus b squared is equals to what? Is equals to square root of 8. Now we square both sides, so the square root gets cancelled out, and now we have a square plus b square, which is equal to 8. Notice that a is equals to b or b is equals to a, so that means I can replace b with a and square it and equals to 8. So 2a square equals to 8, which means a square equals to 4, which means a is equals to what? A is equals to plus minus 2, but we're not going to go with plus 2. We're not going to go with minus 2. We're actually going to go with plus 2. Why is that? That's because the question says that a and b are both positive. Okay. So if a is equals to 2, that means b is also equal to 2. Okay. Which then means that the vector BC is actually minus 2 and minus 2. Okay, that's what that means. That means that the vector BC is actually minus 2 and minus 2. Achha, now let's go back. Okay, the coordinates of A are already given. Achha, I just realized that I didn't give you guys the coordinates of A. Okay, the coordinates of A are 7, 2. So here's A, here's B, here's C, and here's D. The coordinates of A are 7, 2. Okay. The coordinates of B are minus 5, 8. Okay, great. And what do we have to do? We have to find out the coordinates of D. Okay. Now, how can I find out the coordinates of D? Do we have anything else? No, we don't. No, we don't. Okay, great. So basically, since we're talking about a parallelogram, that means vector BC is going to be the same as vector AD. Why? Because it's a parallelogram. Okay, since it's a parallelogram, the vector BC is going to be the same as the vector AD. Okay, now BC, as we know, is minus 2 and minus 2. What about AD? AD, I can split it and write it like this: OD minus OA. Okay, OD minus OA is what? Is basically vector AD. Now minus 2 remains as it is, equals to OD minus OA. And what's OA? OA are basically the coordinates of A, which happen to be 7 and 2. Now here's what happens. We make OD the subject, for which we take the minus 7 and 2 over to the other side, so it gets added. So what is minus 2 plus 7? Minus 2 plus 7 is 5. And what is minus 2 plus 2? That's 0. And this is basically equal to OD, sorry. This is actually equal to OD, and OD means that since it's the position vector of D, it's as good as the coordinates of D, 5, 0. So there you go. That's it. That's your answer. Okay. So yeah, that's it, I guess. Okay. Now this is a fairly easy question, so I'm not going to solve this. It's you guys can try it out yourself. Okay. This question I really wanted to solve because it was a challenging one. And that's it as far as the stream is concerned. We're gonna stop here, and best of luck to you guys who have their exam tomorrow. Remember to get good night's sleep. Remember to make sure that you have complete stationery with you, all the usual stuff: pencil, scale, eraser, sharpener, and what else. Make sure you have a fully functioning calculator. Take 2 calculators, in fact, to be on the safe side. Go over the formulas. Do not attempt a past paper, not at all recommended. And yeah, again, I can't put enough emphasis on getting a good night's sleep. That's very important. Okay. So that's it. I'm gonna stop here. I will, yeah, tracing paper. Yes, tracing paper as well. Thank you, Usman. Tracing paper also. I will definitely pray for you guys. I want you guys to pray for me also. Okay, I'll appreciate that if you guys do. For those of you who have 2 papers tomorrow, well, you guys should definitely get enough sleep. You guys should sleep at 9. Love from South Africa. Oh, very nice. 4 hours? No. 4 hours is not enough, Mehdi. You should sleep for at least 8 to 9 hours. Okay. So this PDF, no, it's not available. I'll see if I can quickly compile the questions that I've solved and share them with you guys. I think we've done 2 papers, so I'll do that. I'll quickly compile the questions and share them with you guys. But it's not available at the moment. I'll do that. As soon as the stream ends, I'll quickly compile the questions and share them with you guys, okay? The reason why I'm not recommending you guys to do past papers at the moment is because if you do them, if you test yourself and God forbid you don't get good marks and God forbid you get stuck at a question, then you'll start just questioning your preparation and you'll enter into a state of panic. That's why I don't recommend that you do past papers right now, okay? At this point, and again, I don't mean this in like a bad sense, you can, by literally studying too much at this point, you'll only make matters worse. So just relax, give your mind a break. Okay, you need that. You've earned it, I think. You've earned it if you've been studying. Okay, so give yourself some rest, and yeah, you'll be fine, inshallah. Is there any expected? Okay, so you don't really need my expected topics. From what I've heard from you guys only, the topics that came in paper 1, the topics that came in paper 2 were angle properties of circles, mensuration, and everything. Okay, so if those topics have been tested, then any Tom, Dick, and Harry can tell you that you can expect those topics to not come in paper 4. All right, that's how it is. If you've been doing past papers, I'm sure you must have seen this trend. If a topic is tested in paper 2, okay, unless it hasn't been tested properly, it's only been like partially tested, then of course you can expect like the remaining concepts to be tested, like you guys said for vectors. Okay, you can expect a question on vectors, but for the other topics, the main topics, yes, I think all of us can guess what's coming tomorrow. Graphs of functions for sure, mensuration, 3D for sure, trigonometry, yes, definitely for sure. So yeah. So that's it, boys and girls. Take care. Remember me in your prayers. Allah Hafiz.